Hey guys, it's me again, Oris, where I last left off. Let's see, checking. So, this will be the first part of my 2K special. What if Deku was a space marine? I will do my best to explain some things for those who don't understand or don't know what 40K Warhammer is. So, sorry if I miss some things and you'll still have questions. But anyways, I hope you all enjoy, and so let's get started, shall we? In the year 40,000, humanity is assailed by all manners of aliens and traitors alike. But humanity's Imperium still stands strong, stands and fights, but almost none are more powerful than the Emperor's avenging angels, his Adeptus Astartes, or his Space Marines. We start our story here in the year 39,000 as the Lamenters chapter are sent to the Eye of Terror, and the Eye of Terror is a wound in reality leading into the war, a sort of different reality, you could say. The Lamenters are stationed around the Eye of Terror and receive a warning that one of the traitors, known as Abaddon the Despoiler, the War Master as he's known, of all traitors, has launched one of his many Black Crusades, and I believe specifically around this time it's his 9th Black Crusade. The Lamenters decide to defend the planet they are stationed on. Another group of Marines, known as the Mortifactors chapter, are supposed to help the Lamenters in protecting said planet, but they abandon them, believing the Lamenters to be cursed. For their history, to give you a brief history of Lamenters, they were made during the Curse founding. It is known as the Curse founding because many chapters of Space Marines that were founded during it turned traitor, betraying the Imperiums. But the Lamenters stayed loyal, heading out to the very edges of Imperium-controlled space to protect the humans that lived there. But to get done with history, we continue our story in the midst of a violent clash between the Lamenters and foul traitors. Hopefully I'll be doing some editing and such, give you guys like a more appealing sounds. One of the traitors screams,
"Die, dog of the Emperor!"
as the Lamenter being attacked retorts with,
"You are a traitor who deserves no mercy."
As the Lamenter takes his bolt gun and blasts the traitor in the leg, causing him to stumble and fall, as the Lamenter then takes his chain axe and slices right through the traitor's head, killing him quickly to move on to the next foe. This Space Marine is known as Hizashi, and he will be our focus for this part. Hizashi doing his best to win traitors quickly, so as to protect the civilians his squad has taken under their protection. Having lost none of his brothers to this onslaught, they then try to move the civilians to a safe zone protected by more of his battle brothers, specifically a battle company. Trying to hurry along, they soon come under fire by more enemies, Hizashi letting out his orders,
"Brothers, protect the civilians," as Hizashi and
two of his brothers then rush forward to confront these new foes. Hizashi shoots one, then another, then another, then another, but the final one charges at him with a chain axe, clashing with him again. Traitor screaming, "Blood for the Blood God!" Hizashi going to break away, underestimating this mad berserker's skills. As when he goes to move, it lunges for him, getting close to its chest, only being able to live because of his battle brother that he brought along, shooting the traitor in the head. Finishing the skirmish, they make their way to the safe zone. Soon after arriving, they are contacted by the remaining battle brothers of the battle company, giving them their location. The battle company has taken shelter in what was once a well-defended shrine, but the defenders were almost wiped out, only being saved due to the Space Marines. Now, not thankfully, After Hazashi and his brothers get civilians settled down in Shrine, the captains of the Space Marines ask for Hazashi to report.
As Hizashi reports, we have escorted many more civilians into the safe zone, taking many a traitor down along the way.
Hazashi says with pride.
Well done, Hizashi. You and your squad have done much to assist us, replies the captain.
Before long, they receive more reports of traitor movements in the area, the Space Marines having to hunker down and stay on high alert. Several days pass with the Space Marines doing everything they can to provide safety for their charges. The captains request resupplies of weapons, ammo, medical, food and water for the civilians. Getting reports at the landing zone for a drop-off area said supply off for supplies. But it is infested with heretics and demons. Yes, there are demons in 40k. I'm pretty sure most of you know this. As we cut over to Hazashi being called, as the captain calls over Hazashi. If you guys want to give the captain a name, go ahead. I'll let you name the captain. Hazashi, I need you and 2 other squads to assist me in clearing the landing zone. As Hazashi asked, only 2, why not more? The captain giving an explanation. Because that would leave the shrine at less than ideal strength to repel any enemy forces. As Hazashi says, very well then, I'll gather those I think are best for the task. The captain says, we have to leave in 1 hour, Hazashi. Please, make it quick. Hazashi doing as he said, gathering those they could afford to lose for a mission, taking his squad and another, led by a Marine he considers his actual brother. Butter. Imagine they call each other brother. But, brother Nirvan. As Hazashi speaks with Nirvan, telling him the plan, Nirvan sees nothing wrong with this, so he agrees, thinking it is best. Well, yeah. After gathering the Marines, Hazashi reports to the captain. Soon after, they set out after their objective. They move back between back alleys and sewers to avoid the eyes of the traitors. The captain, as soon as they arrive, the captain scanning the area sees over a dozen cultists and a few demons patrolling around the walkways. Hazashi and Nevron calls the captain. As both of them approach and reply, yes sir. Nevron and Hazashi, you two need to take your squash and rush them from sides, just in case there are more hiding, says the captain. Understood, replies Hazashi and Nevron. Wishing each other luck, they both get their squads into waiting position. Soon as the captain shouts, gaining the attention of the demons and heretics, Hazashi and Nevron make their move, rushing forward, chain swords in hand and bolters blasting away at the cultists and demons that stand in the way. After obliterating everything that stands in that little zone that they need for the supplies and the like, what happens is this. As they're defending around, they start hearing like whispers and like a few shouts. As immediately they scatter, but they gotta take out whatever this is because they just called in the supplies. Before they could like try to cancel it out, their transmissions cut out. They can't call them back or anything. So what they see walk in the middle is just a couple of Space Marines talking, well, more like, yeah, Space Marines talking and sort of joking with, like, counting out, well, I don't know if they refer to each other as brothers, but they probably still do. One calling the other one Korn's least favorite champion, for the simple fact that he hasn't been able to get a single kill since they've landed. Since before they've arrived, or been called in to help, or anything really, they've all been killed already. So, as they're talking and joking, what happens is this. Hazashi gets a hand signal command telling him to fire on his mark. as the captain goes to say shout again, saying, "Hey!" as the Space Marine captain of that, or sergeant of that Chaos Squad, turns around and fires at him immediately, telling his men to charge. And at the same moment, he just hears bang, 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 or more or less boom, because Space Marines use bolters, which, if you were to compare it to a normal gun, they essentially use miniature rockets. Is more like what they use. That's how big and how much force some of their stuff can put out. So as they hear boom, 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 all behind them, he sees two of his Marines go down immediately. Then the final two that are around him go down as well. This sergeant looks around, seeing his subordinate is dead, saying, well. As he turns around quickly to go fire at the rest, he's immediately gunned down. The squad being taken out pretty quickly, thankfully due to superior numbers on Hisashi's side. As the squad has been taken care of, they return back to their duty, getting the supplies that have been dropped down very covertly. It's not like a super large shipment, like where you'd need like 20, not even 20 Marines, but a few. As they grab the supplies and take it back to the church. Some of the Marines working together to carry the heavier stuff, such as they get a storm bolter, which is like two bolt guns strapped together that fires really, really fast. It's like basically a mounted machine gun of a bolter. They also get a flamer. So, yeah. You get a few like other melee weapons in case they break theirs. So, nothing much happens, just, the typical. They get food and water and get all that back to civilians. As they are able to survive for 6 solar weeks. That's how they put it. That's how long they held off an entire Black Crusade. And a Black Crusade has hundreds of thousands of Marines, if I remember. It isn't just like a normal Space Marine chapter, which I'll explain. They're only allowed to have 1,000 Space Marines for each Space Marine chapter, because of reasons saying that, before in the Horus Heresy, again, I assume some of you know about the whole 40k, but I'll give a tiny explanation. Essentially, they had 20 legions, 2 of them died before the actual rebellion took place, or the heresy, as some would put it, and Horus, which is the main guy who led the traitors, and they had hundreds of thousands, maybe, I think the largest one I know about was around 290,000 Space Marines. 290,000, Space Marines in a single legion. And Space Marines, one Space Marine is worth probably 20 people. So, as I digress, what happens is, since they've been relieved, thankfully, to the White Scars and Ultramarines, which are 2 loyalist Space Marine chapters, what happens is this: before they're able to get out, well, not get out, but before everything's calmed down, there's one final assault. And Hisashi and the men have been all over their little sector, where the Space Marines were. In canon, there are 200 Space Marines that survived the conflict. My thing, there's going to be 300, and I'll tell you why. Before they're able to commence getting out of there, there's a final little makeshift battle where they're getting all the civilians out of there to safety, since they still believe the world would be exterminatus. Now, and that's pretty much where they destroy a planet. So the lamenters, wanting to save these civilians, try to get them on transports, and they start getting lifted off. But before that's able to happen, they hear, or more don't know the exact sound that they make, but there are assault drop pods as they smash right into the ground. As when they look over to where that came from, a bunch of world eaters, or berserkers or whichever god, not whichever god, but whichever other blood god, not whichever other blood god. Sorry, I'm stuttering a bit. Whichever Space Marines, like specific Space Marines, worship corn. They see a whole lot of them charging straight at him, screaming bloody murder, essentially. I think actually that is a quote one of them may say. Bloody murder! No. But, as they're going along with this, Hazashi and the Marines around them try to take up positions with a few Imperial Guard, or PDF, or Planetary Defense Force, units, officers, well not officers, units trying to help them defend these civilians. So as there's a pinch battle, the Marines come with like at least 400. No, actually they come down with a little bit below 400 Marines. They have around 200 charging this position, as the PDF are starting to let off, like use their I think they have auto guns, which are pretty much machine guns, and then I think a few of them have las guns, which is what the main army of the Imperium uses, which is pretty much just a laser gun. Sorry. But as this is happening, Hazashi and the Space Marines start take up a makeshift defensive position, as this is a facility where they're loading people up at. As they start letting off like bolt shells, as it's like bang, 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 just a whole score of shots ringing out. As before the Chaos Space Marines even get, like, they get there around like almost halfway there, the Lamenters have taken down at least 50 of them. As the Space Marines, or as the Chaos Space Marines, are actually using armor, such as rhinos, land raiders, that sort of stuff. As they're firing at the walls, eventually a few of their tanks and such get knocked out. With Hazashi seeing that the Chaos worshippers are getting closer, what he does is his captain pretty much tells him that, pretty much shouts at his Marines, "Defend the civilians, brothers, for the Emperor!" As they jump down off the walls, brandishing their chain swords and chain axes, whichever weapons they use. A few use warhammers, and I believe there's also chain glaives. So, as Hazashi prepares his chain sword for combat, he starts running forward, firing bolt shells. As the first Marine he comes in contact with, he ducks under the blow and slices right at the back of the neck, sawing all the way through. Backhanding another one with his bolt pistol as he fires again, and just keeps on trying to smash in his way through them, sort of ripping, not clawing, but ripping his way through them. As they say, "For those we cherish, we die in glory," which I believe is what the Lamenter's war cry is. For those we cherish, we die in glory. So, with that being said, Hazashi and them try to smash down these Chaos Space Marines, losing around 50 Marines in the endeavor, as they're also assisted by PDF troopers and more Marines. I've stated, not PDF, more Marines and PDF have stayed up on the walls in more defensive positions, taking out more and more Space Marines. Within a matter of around 30 minutes after the bloody battle, the company that charged out with the captain, lost around 75 Space Marines, with Hazashi being like one of the few sergeants of squads that had survived, along with his brother Nervan, I believe I had it written down that his name was Nervan. Sorry if I called him something else. That's when dyslexia kicks in. But, as I digress, they finish the day and return to ships, as they're given permission to leave and go and try to rebuild their forces. But something happens. Something very, very bad happens indeed. As wham! The demon is crushed instantly, as a dreadnought speaks, and I'll be editing this hopefully, speaks to the child in a very, very low voice.
saying, "Run, child. Return to the other aspirants. I will ensure the area is cleared."
As he lets off a large bout of flames from his giant arm. As he speaks, saying, "Die, foul demons, for the Emperor!" Burning them all to, well, whatever they burn into. As Hazashi sort of shoots a few rounds into a demon trying to get the jump on Brother Agaron. I think, Agaron. 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 Yeah, I think that's what I'll make his name as. Agaron. Sounds a lot like Angron, but go with it. Yeah, Agron. Sounds good. Agron speaking to
Hazashi, hello, Hazashi. It is a pleasure to see you again.
It's like, as it is I to see you again, Agaron. What happened? He's like, don't know.
Just know the aspirants need safety.
It's like, alright, well, you and the apothecary ensure their safety. Captain, I'll go see what is up. I'll go see what is the situation with the Gellerfield. As when they're running
over, what happens is that the ship starts being torn in two. As Hazashi runs forward, he's like, dang it, gotta see what's wrong. As when he's trying to get over there, as he's finished his job, as he's looking around at the Gellerfield, it's completely effed up. It's like, there's no return from this. A tech priest with 100 years could not fix this issue. So what happens is that Hazashi ends up trying to run back, and as he sees like his squad there, he's like, "Sergeant, we are here, come!" As Nirvan is like, "Brother, where's?" As the ship finally cracks in half, as Hazashi's pretty much right there in the middle, as he's like, "What?" As he's grabbed, as he feels himself being grabbed, as he's yanked through the warp. As he's like, starts praying, as he's like, "Oh, for the Emperor." I don't know if the Lamenters worship the Emperor as a god. I think that goes on case-by-case basis. But what happens is that the Emperor, not the Emperor, but he starts praying.
"Oh, mighty and powerful Emperor, I ask you for your help and guidance in this issue. Your humble servant and son of your beloved son Sanguinius, please do not allow me to fall to the warp. Please guide me through this meaning of darkness and place me somewhere where I may contact my brothers or defend more of humanity as I have done before." As finishing that prayer,
he feels himself being tugged a different way. As he's tugged through the warp, as it's like, he eventually gets spit up right there as he smashes right down into a cold rocky surface. Well, not rocky, but a weird brown surface with green all over it. As he's like, oh, as he sort of just goes to regain his balance after taking a minute. That was a pretty hard landing. As he stands up, he's like, "Huh? Where am I?" As he grabs his bolt gun, sort of like aiming it around himself, he's like, "Oh, this will be annoying, but I must find a way back to my brothers." As he is about to start walking until he hears snap. As he hears the twig, as he turns around and sprays bolt fire into that area. As when he turns around and is about to let more bolts loose, he feels something as he's lifted up into the air, as he feels constricted. As a very soft voice tells him to calm down and to stop firing. You may alert others to our location. As Hazashi does his best to look down, as he sees a woman with green hair, weird staff and clothing, and pointed ears. Now, as he's going to try and figure out who the heck this, he thinks about, he's like, an Eldar, sorry. As he's trying to figure out what's happening, she's like, "What is your name?" Asking Hazashi the question, as he's dead silent. Then she asks again. With finally answering the question, Hazashi states his name, rank, and where he came from. Well, not where he came from, but his rank and such. I am Sergeant Hizashi, Sergeant of the 6th Company. It's like, alright. She goes to ask the question, another question. How did you arrive here? As he takes a second, she's like, I can keep you like this all day. For weeks if I have to. Where did you come from? As he answers truthfully, saying, aboard a vessel. The warp engine of Gellerfield was sabotaged. Ship was torn in half and I was thrown here. It's like, Well then. Do you intend to fire more at me? Unless you give me a reason to, Eldar. As she's like, very well, as she pretty much tries to set him down, she says, wait. Toss your bolter and your chainsaw aside, Sergeant. As he has no other choice, really, as he tosses them aside. Not seeing a reason to try and fight the Eldar just yet. As I don't think, I don't know how, many times the Lamenters have come in contact with the Eldar, because I don't know much about lore, I just know about history and how some things transpire. Specific characters and events are lost to me. So I'll just say he's never really met an Eldar or fought them so much, so he doesn't have the same animosity some others would. Like Deathwatch, or what were those ones called? The White Scars, who I've dealt with Eldar, or more specifically the Dark Eldar. Well, this Eldar, from what he can tell, is not one of the dark ones, as he's heard so much about. Very sadistic people, or a sadistic people. As Inko, surprise, surprise, it's Inko. As she goes to speak to him some more, questioning him about, events and such, and where year and such, as she has let him down by this point, as he answers truthfully, not saying a reason not to again, continuing to answer again and again as truthfully as he could. As Inko is satisfied with his answers, she starts giving some of the answers of her own, saying that she's been here for 50 years or so, and that this world is much like pre-Imperium Earth, or before the Long Night, or the Age of Strife, as some would call it. He's like, It's like, it doesn't seem to be part of the worlds as we would know them. The connection to the war appears strained at best. Not many have come through here. I got here on accident, after helping an overseer. I believe they're called fire seers, which are like officers, or sort of like high ranking in the Eldar world, I believe. As she explains that she was on a mission to help them close a Seleneshi gate that had tried to open up on one of their worlds. As she did so to help, what happened was, sorry. What happened was that as she was helping close them, she was grabbed and yanked forward. But unlike Hizashi praying to the Emperor, she tried her best to cocoon herself in her own force energy, trying to give herself some cover. Doing her best to cover herself from the energies of the warp, so that no demons were trying to get their claws, tentacles, or whatever on her. So she eventually ended up here, and she was there like 100 years before Quirks would happen, is what I'll say the timeline is. So I believe I believe Quirks came around the year. She's in the year 2000. She was there like 100 years, I believe I said. So right now she's in 2010. I'll say that's like a good year to start her off at. She's in the year 2010. As she goes on, explain what's happening and such in the world around them. He asks as he takes a second, as he goes to ask her a question about does she know a way to get back. She says no. Though she's been trying to get off this, but as she would call the planet barbaric compared to the high society of Eldars. As she explains that she has tried every opportunity to get back to their world, but has found none. She's even tried to construct a Monkai, as she would put it, warp engine to try and access the warp, or try and even open a portal to the warp. It didn't even work. As she would come to explain again that the strain on the way of the warp here is strained extremely. It's not like Fenris where it's like a filter. It's just more or less it's difficult for like this world to even get signs of the warp. And sometimes from time to time there'll be bits and pieces of things from the warp to like pop out around here. For instance, like sometimes the warp would create a portal here, but very rarely does it like do anything aside from teleport some random junk. As he asks about other questions, saying has other things appeared here, she's like, well, one time a demon showed up out of nowhere. That was weird, as she put it. As she's like, what? So as he questions her about what now, she says, I was never expecting to find a human or Monkai or any other species from our world that wouldn't try to kill me instantly. Actually, scratch that. You already tried that. He's like, that was situational awareness. I don't care. You still tried to kill me. So as they just both start like sort of turning their heads, it's late at night. It's like pretty much pitch dark outside for them. So as she like gets a thing on her hand, she lifts up her wrist. Oh, damn it. She's like, oh. As she goes walking back, he's like, wait, where are you going? She says, I got work tomorrow. It's like, what? It's like, here I have a job. I'm going to go to home to sleep so I can get up and go work. It's like, as he just like sort of, alright, as he takes a seat, she's like, what are you doing? He's like, well, there's nothing to me. As he just tries to get the words out that he has nothing to do, really. If what she says is true, then none of the enemies of mankind are here. Except maybe her? She's like, nah. He's like, alright. As he just starts and just sits there thinking about, trying to think of all the ways he can get home, but he has no idea about the warp. He has no greater knowledge, so he just follows her. Now she's like, why are you following me? He's like, I have nowhere else to go. She's like, very well. Can't have you going off trying to be a hero around these parts. As she just pretty much lets him follow her. As she has constructed, what she has been able to do is how, aside from her psychic potential, or yeah, being able to tap into being a psyker and sensing the warp, she was able to construct a device that would be able to sense warp energies and such on a greater scale. Like she could sense like holes in reality that would form, or little portals. And she has made a makeshift teleporter due to like a technology. No, I'll scratch what I said about her being brought in through a Slaneshi portal. She came with a ship. Is that she had to use a makeshift a Monkai warp engine and small Gellerfield to try and get through the warp after a very critical battle. After she had rigged that up, she was tried to tear through space, but instead of getting back to her home or someplace along those lines, what happened was that the Gellerfield went all awry and the warp engine sort of started messing up too. So when she went to go exit, it sort of took her off on a different path, similar to how Hazashi got there. As she smashed down and eventually had to create her own stuff. As she arrived during the time of, I believe it's, well, 100 years before, yeah, 100 years before Hazashi, well, not Hazashi, but 50 years before she met Hazashi. So that'd be 1960, around that time. Around 1960, yeah, I believe so. So that would be around Vietnam and the likes. So, yeah, I would say she landed somewhere in Japan. Being a very rural area, she just hid out there, you could say, constructing a makeshift base of operations where she would hide, keeping herself hidden for many decades. Yeah. So, eventually she starts checking out Japanese society, getting an understanding for it, and learning how to speak their language through books and such. First, she had to read English, because I think it was English, Japanese book, and yada yada yada. She learned English first, then learned Japanese. Well, I don't know how difficult it is to learn Japanese. I'm guessing it's a pain in the ass. So I'll just say she learned Japanese first. But since yeah, that seems like a good way to put it. So she knows a few languages on Earth, so because she thought it would be helpful. So as they're going on with this, they eventually come to today's time, where it's 2010, and she's hanging out in Japan and has her own place. So she takes her there, as she lives in a very big house, somewhat like a miniature mansion, you could say. She doesn't have any maids or anything like that. She just has a giant house for reasons, figuring that, well, an Eldar deserves only the best. So as Hizashi starts to go walk around this mansion, she tells him that if he wants, that he could put his power armor into where she keeps the teleporter and such. So as he goes to set his gear down, he takes stock of what he has. He has his bolt pistol with quite a bit of ammo, his chain sword, his armor, and his helmet. He has some medical supplies, grenades, a few other things. Nothing too major, just what I would say is the standardized Space Marine kit of weapons and such. She's like, well, at least you'll be able to fit in the house. She's like, listen, I know you Space Marines don't have to sleep that often, but I do. Stay down here. I'm gonna go upstairs, alright? As he would describe her as laid back, or not even putting up any form of defensiveness around him. She just asked a question. He's like, you're very calm for an Eldar. She's like, well, is that weird? She's like, from what I heard, most Eldars are pretentious, stick up their ass, as she would put it crudely. I have lost interest in all. I just want to get home, Space Marine. So I have no time to act all high and mighty when clearly a warrior of your caliber or a monk high talks to me. As she just says, she doesn't care really. So as she goes upstairs, Hizashi has set down his weapons and all his armor, as he has his normal clothes on, I would say. So with that being said and such, he just sits down and just starts thinking, eventually going upstairs after a while, and looks around and sees a giant TV, as he's like, as he goes to turn it on and changes it to the news channel by accident, it just starts speaking words he has no idea what they mean, since he knows Gothic. So he's at a loss, as he just sits there thinking about what he's gonna do. And that's where I'm gonna be ending this first part off on. I hope you all have enjoyed this special, and sorry it took so long to get out, but anyways, I hope you all have enjoyed this. Hope you all continue to enjoy this, and I hope you all have a nice day, nice night, nice life.